Hey everyone, still swimmer here. Before we get started, oh look at this. Oh, making leanness gains. That tricep though. Oh, so yeah, still fat, but I'm working on it. So anyways, I wanted to do a video, and there's stripes again on the Arnold Classic 2015. And first things first, I guess bikini was how do you say? Bikini. That's the. I'm starting the sentence off wrong. Ashley Kaltwasser won the bikini division, and she's the reigning Olympia champion. I didn't watch bikini because there's so many competitors, and I never know what the judge is looking for, and I always have certain picks, and it's never what the judges want. So, and also like I said, there's just so many competitors, it's hard to keep track of. But yeah, Ashley Kaltwasser won, reigning Olympia champion. In the figure division, there was a bit of an upset. Candice Keene was probably the favorite going into the show, and she placed not second but third. And right away though, when I only caught the tail end of it. If I saw the last, like the top three, and I was like, man, Candice looked like she was a bit soft, like off her conditioning. I don't know if maybe she was off or the other girls were just tighter, but she definitely looked soft compared to the other girls. The winner, hold on, I have it right here. Camila Rodriguez McClure, she was really conditioned. She was really tight, and Candice Keene just seemed a little bit blockier to me than the other girls. Not that she's straight up and down or anything, but she seemed just a little bit blockier compared to the other girls. And I felt like you could make argument for Candice Lewis winning, and same thing with Latoria Watts winning. I think Latoria Watts was marked down for being too big because she looks really big compared to the other girls. And but Candice Lewis just had excellent structure, like perfect V taper, hourglass type, X-ring, whatever you want to call it. But she had a tiny, tiny waist, and that's, I mean, you can't make that. You're born with it, or you're not. And you could make an argument um, for Candice Lewis winning, and I think maybe she just comes in a little bit more conditioned, like just a hair more conditioned. She could have even won, and probably even be a threat to the Olympia crown, just because I don't think anyone else has a waist like that. Um, anyways, in men's physique, I didn't really watch it. I heard that Sadiq won, so I'm glad for that because he's one of the athletes that I think looks really good. I don't really follow men's physique, but like when I do come across the pictures and stuff, I feel like Sadiq always looks great. His abs could pop a little bit more, like could have a little bit more density to him, a little more thickness. Not to his core, like the abdomen, but like just the abs, the ab muscles. Like his serratus and obliques look really tight. If his abs could just match that, I think that's his only weakness. That if he fixes that, or I shouldn't even say fix, but if he does that, that would, I think, then put him into contention for even the Mr. Olympia, and for physique. Mr. Physique Olympia, the Physique Showdown, as they call it. And but yeah, he won the very first men's physique international. I think that's what it's called, right? At the Arnold Classic. And now on to women's physique. So I'm going back here to the results just to remember. I know Juliana got first and DLB got second, but I want to see who else placed because they didn't have the stream of it. So I had to look up on YouTube, like as soon as it was up, the call outs and stuff like that. Juliana Malacarne won, and what can I say? She looked really great, full round muscle. DLB got second, also full round muscle. She brought her lats up, I think, a little bit, but really DLB's only weakness, other than her legs not matching her upper body, which she improved, and her legs match her upper body a lot better now. The only other thing with DLB is that she's a little blocky compared to the other girls. Her waist is just wider than the other girls are, so her V shape, X frame, whatever you want to call it, is not quite there as some of the other girls. So her flow isn't as good. And I'm a big DLB fan, but I'm just saying that's how it is. Right? As a fan of the sport, her structure is not the very best. But she nails her conditioning, and that's why she beats so many of the other girls. And she has full round muscle, just like Juliana does. And which is another thing I'll get to real quick. Tycee Coppett came in third. You could have argued for her being second. Such a deep division, so much competition. Tycee Coppett had excellent glute ham tie-ins. Her structure is basically perfect. She has like no weak points. You could say maybe she could add a little bit more size because she's so tall. She's big, but she's so tall that she needs a little bit more muscle to fill out her frame a little bit. But I mean, that's being nitpicky, you know. With all these girls, it's just being nitpicky. It's just picking apart the fine little things that, well, why didn't they win? Why weren't they the absolute best? You know. And with structure, I mean, there's not really much you can do with that, you know, because they also run the risk of going into bodybuilder territory if they get too big, right? So like if someone's blocking, you want to bring up the lats and the quads to make yourself look more tapered, then you run the risk of looking too bodybuilderish, kind of like Juliana. But Juliana brought her size down. She has a small waist, so she could afford to bring her size down, and now she fits the judging criteria very well. Karina Nascimento from Brazil placed fourth. Great look for her. She looked a little bit tighter here. Big fan of her than her physique. Fifth place, Ladrissa Bonneville. Probably the best back double biceps out of everyone there. Great glute ham tie-ins. Maybe could just be slightly more conditioned, but by the same token, I feel like just seeing her back double biceps here, if she were to come in more conditioned, her back would probably look like shredded. So she kind of runs the risk there, you know, of looking almost like a bodybuilder if she gets too lean. That's my guess, anyways. Looks like she has a ton of muscle, you know, but her proportions are really good. She holds it well. Sabrina Taylor, sixth place, excellent proportions, and now some people say she should add size, and now with her frame, she can afford to add a little bit of size, and I don't think she'll look too big. But her proportions are so excellent, that's why she does well, and she's not as big as the other girls. Her conditioning was pretty good. Her presentation is always really great. I think she used to do fitness. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but I think she used to do fitness, and so did Mindy O'Brien. I don't know what she placed, but Mindy O'Brien I know used to do fitness, and she looks like great as a physique competitor. And that reminds me, speaking of fitness, going to physique, I hope we see more of that. Honestly, like maybe like if a fitness competitor, for whatever reason, like say they sprain an ankle or something, they can't do their routine, or you know, for whatever reason, maybe they're going to retire from fitness, then they don't want to like risk injury or whatever the case may be. Maybe they can do physique now, you know, because that's a very similar look, you know, maybe just a little bit added size, not even too much even there. I mean, because some of these fitness girls are pretty like muscular, and they could just come in the same type of condition, but now they practice the physique poses, and they might do well. Like Tanji Johnson, I know a year or two ago, did the Emerald Pro Cup, I think it was, or something, and she looked really, really good. And had a very moving routine, by the way. She had like posed to that song by John Legend, "All of Me," or at least the opening part of her routine was to that song, and it was moving. And she said it has her voice playing. It's like, "I dedicate this to sport of bodybuilding. You are my love," or whatever. And then it says, "All of me loves all of you." You know the song, and I was like, "Oh, hearts." And that was a great routine. Anyways, that's totally different show, totally off topic, but it is kind of related to this. So maybe more fitness girls will move into the physique, and I think that would be really good, and also like just kind of cement the type of image they're going for in physique. And back to DLB and Juliana having full round muscle. Some people have been saying like, "Oh, physique's gone too far. It's like bodybuilding now." I really don't think so, because if that were true, the bigger girls would be winning the shows, and that's not necessarily the case. There's usually girls that are bigger and more muscular that place in the middle or lower down in the shows. Like you'll see bodybuilders who moved into physique and they're placing a little lower because they're too big and they don't flow as well. It seems like physique really emphasizes the flow and the structure of the athletes, and like I said, DLB beats some girls with better structural flow than her because her conditioning is basically perfect. And Stripes is clawing me again. Anyways, um, but like if it was all size, it was just only size, then DLB would have won because she's bigger than Juliana. I don't understand why people even say like, oh well, maybe DLB should have size to compete with Juliana or whatever. DLB's already bigger than her. Just look at the pictures, look at the videos of them standing literally right next to each other. DLB's bigger, right? Juliana's quads flare more, they have more sweep to them, her muscles round in the legs, but overall DLB takes up more space, and that's just a fact. And that other girl, Ladrissa Bonneville, she's probably one of the bigger girls there too. But Tycee Coppett's one of the bigger girls. And yeah, they placed well, but Juliana is smaller than them, and yet she won. So how can you say it's all about size and they're getting too close to bodybuilding? No one's showing up in women's physique with shredded glutes, you know. And thank goodness, because I think that would be too conditioned for the physique division. And Juliana carries her muscle very well, and like I said, I think it's that people don't understand what they're seeing when they look at her, and they don't have the eye for it. Maybe it's that her muscle is round, it pops. Excuse me, and that makes her look bigger than what she really is. But those who have a trained eye know that. Same thing with DLB. She's bigger than Juliana, but you know, some people who see her pictures online, they say, "Oh, she's huge and stuff." Yes, she's muscular, but her muscle's so round it pops. And you know, if you see DLB in person, yes, she's muscular, but she's not nearly as big as you would think she is by looking at her pictures. Right? So like when you're in person, it's like, "Oh, this girl is muscular, but she's not like huge." Whereas if you see her in her pictures, like, "Dang, that girl looks jacked." Like uh, the movie scene from Friday where Ice Cube and Chris Tucker are like, "Damn," like that. Anyways, so that was that one. In the men's 212, Jose Raymond wins, and that I was surprised. I liked that he won, but I was surprised simply because I felt they looked really similar to the Olympia, where Eduardo placed above him. And for those who don't know, Eduardo Correa was a huge fan favorite at the Olympia. Like, I don't know if there was a ton of Brazilian fans there or what, but there was a lot of people chanting his name and stuff, and they did it with the rolled R. So that's why I know they were Latinos, or from Brazil. So they were, you could hear it when they were chanting his name. Anyways, I'm just saying. But that was awesome, and it was great to see Jose Raymond win. And I could definitely see how they have him winning. He was big. He doesn't have like the huge amount of separation that some of the other guys have when they're that shredded, but he looks super grainy. And he was probably the thickest guy, and yet still has striated glutes. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yes, the judges overemphasize that, but you gotta hand it to him. He did have striated glutes. He had a nice separated lower back, Christmas tree in effect, and everything. And he had that graininess to him, and that dense look to him. And he was still holding like pretty semi-good, decent vacuum in his front double biceps. Hide got second, I think it was. I was kind of thinking Eduardo would place above Hide. I like how Hide looks. I think his aesthetics are better than Eduardo's, but to me, he looked a little softer than he normally does. I don't know, but I know when he first came down to 212, he looked like he was totally flattened out. And at this one, Hide actually looked round and full, and looked like he had more of that fullness, kind of like when he was in the open class. And so that was cool to see. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, with Eduardo, the only thing was like the tricep tear. You could see that. His legs need to catch up to his upper body. But this shakes things up for the 212 Olympia coming up this year, because last year people probably thought, well, Eduardo's the only guy that's going to push flex, but now Jose Raymond just beat him. So now maybe he's going to push flex. That kind of leads to like a whole lot more excitement going into the 212 Olympia. In the men's open, the Blade, Dexter Jackson, breaks the all-time winningest record for Arnold Classics with 5 Arnold Classic titles. Do I believe he deserved it? Absolutely. Of course, I'm biased. He's one of my favorite bodybuilders of all time. When I got into bodybuilding, I would look more at like the Arnold physiques, like the Lee Haney. That's who I was looking at. I would look at Pumping Iron and stuff like that. And then I would start reading magazines about the current bodybuilders, and I was like, man, some of these guys look like they look fat. Like not that they're out of shape, but it's just they had guts hanging out all over the place and stuff. This was like in the early 2000s and stuff. And I was like, Dexter Jackson, though, is always shredded, and that's what I liked about him. And it's like, that's an aesthetic physique. That physique flows well. And not only that, but over the years, he's brought up his lats, like he's thickened them up. He used to have, well, I mean, he still does have high lats, but I don't even know how he did this, but they don't look as high as they used to look. In the front double biceps, and especially in the rear relaxed pose, like not even rear lat spread, back double biceps, just the rear relaxed posed, Dexter kills it. His lats explode outward and stuff. Anyways, Justin Compton looked very, very good for especially his Arnold debut. A well-deserved third, possibly could have placed higher. So I skipped second place for a reason. I'll get to that. Cedric McMillan placed fourth, probably the best conditioning we've ever seen him. I like Louis Marco's video on how he's bringing aesthetics back, how Cedric McMillan's doing Arnold poses and can hold his stomach nice and tight. I love that. He looks like a modern day Lee Haney, and you could have argued for Cedric McMillan placing higher. I don't think he would have won because his conditioning wasn't, still on par with those top guys, but it was a lot better than it has been before, and you could make an argument for him placing higher than fourth easily. Branch Warren, second place. I wouldn't have had him that high. I can see why the judges had him that high because he's so grainy and ripped. And for those who don't know, if you see Branch in person, that is freaky. That is a wow factor. That's like something that's intangible. Like, it's hard to put a number on that. But at the same time, I wouldn't have had him there because my bias is for aesthetics, and so he's blocky for one, but not just wide waist. His lat asymmetry is like crazy. One lat looks like it had a shark bite out of it or whatever. His glutes and hamstrings are shredded, feathered, but then his back is not. So that's kind of weird. People like, I guess judges, again, back to overemphasizing the glutes and stuff. It should be the whole package. And Branch seems like a nice guy and everything, and he's a fellow Texan, and I met him in person. He seemed really nice, but I just wouldn't have had him second. I just couldn't because it's a physique contest. It's not a who's the nicest guy contest, And you could tell like he was disappointed, I guess, when he was called second because he probably thought he had it, but his physique's not as pleasing to the eye as Dexter, at least not to me. He's definitely big, definitely thick, definitely grainy and hard. I probably would have had him fourth, and Justin Compton and Cedric probably battling it out for second. I probably would have had Cedric in second, but again, Branch, I wouldn't have had him second. But again, I can see why the judges had him there because his conditioning was crazy off the charts. But again, the shredded glutes and hamstrings, but then his back is not. It doesn't look as separated. It's weird. You can tell he's hard, but it just for some reason it's lacking that muscle separation. The separation in between the muscles of the back, they don't jump out as much. Anyways, again, Dexter. Oh, and then Rowley, I think, was sixth. Rowley or Evan, I forgot. But Rowley and Evan were both disappointments. I won't go exactly to their placings, but they were disappointments. They didn't look as good as they thought they were going to look. Rowley looked full. He looked like his gut was a lot more under control than at the Olympia. So that was good. Evan, I don't know if he was flat or watery or whatever, but he just looked soft. He didn't have that pop I was expecting. He didn't have the fine separation that we was expecting. Evan has a lot of mass. He can still bring his legs up a little bit, but he's got a lot of size. If he would nail his conditioning, his placings, I think, would improve a lot. But that's that. Dexter, in my opinion, was a deserving winner. He went on to win the Arnold Classic Australia the next week. I think he looked even a little bit better in Australia. So that was, hey, props to him, The Blade, Dexter Jackson, wins the Arnold Classic 2015 and the Arnold Australia 2015.